Thank you again for joining us tonight. We're chatting about Alvernia's PhD in Leadership program. I'm Allie Blair Snyder. If we haven't chatted yet, I know I've met some of you. I am the Assistant Director of Graduate Enrollment at Alvernia. I am also an alumni and a current student in the PhD program myself. So I'm a good resource on a lot of different sides of this program. I'm in my second year of the program, and I'm very excited, and I have a lot of experience in graduate school, going to school as a full-time mom with all of the responsibilities, so I can answer any of those questions, and I'm really excited you're here. I'm going to have both of our professors here introduce themselves as well, and then we'll ask you all to introduce yourselves to us, and then we'll go from there. So, Dr. Nicoletti, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I am Nick Nicoletti. I am a PhD in political science, and I'm the director of the program. My PhD is in international relations, American politics, and then what we call methods of inquiry, which is essentially methodology like statistics, game theory, data analysis, those types of things. I've been teaching the program for a long time, and this is my first year here starting off as a director. I'm really excited to come in to a program that's growing and thriving and has a lot of amazing students doing some fantastic work on their dissertations. And I'm looking forward to talking to you about the program.
And we're so excited to have you. Dr. Nicoletti has, even before coming in as the program chair, you've chaired and been on many committees for dissertations as well. Yes. So, and then we also have Dr. Stober, who has quite a history with this program. I'll let him share more about that too.
Okay, my name is Spencer Stober, and I'm a professor of biology and leadership studies. I've been at Alvernia, 40 years. I started out my early career in the sciences, particularly genetics and cell biology. And then I moved into administration many years, and then I eventually worked as a director for the PhD program for many years. And then I went back to teaching. So that's what I'm doing now. And I've done I have lost count, but I've done dozens of dissertations as the chair. And it's been a really enjoyable experience working with students. My research interests primarily are at the intersection of actually leadership and sustainability. So that's where I focus my energies. So it's nice to meet all of you, and I look forward to hearing from each of you.
Yes. And I'm wondering if you all could just introduce yourself and maybe tell us what field that you're currently in or what field that you're interested going into, so we can kind of get an idea of where everyone's coming from. George, could you go first?
So my name is George Osei Ababio, originally from Ghana in West Africa. And I came in 2022. And in 2023, I had the opportunity to start my MBA studies at Alvernia. And I'm looking forward to graduate. I'm currently doing my last course, so I'm looking forward to graduate hopefully next May. And I have shown interest in the PhD program, especially I am looking at the corporate leadership. And that is what I think in case I am coming for, that is where I'm looking at. And so I'll be happy to hear. I've already spoken with Dr. Stober. Yeah, I spoke with him, I think in September. Right? I thought maybe there would be something new for me to learn or to hear in this Zoom meeting. That's why I signed up. So I'll be happy to hear from you and to learn.
Thank you for being here. Alinda, you let us know that you're coming in the middle of the night where you are. Hi, there you are. Do you let us know what your interest is in when you introduce yourself?
Well, good morning. To me, it's good morning.
Good morning to you. Yes.
Well, my name is Olinda. I'm from Mozambique. And well, I knew the Alvernia University from US education event. And well, at this moment, I'm working in internal audit and the banking institution. I have bachelor in accounting and audit and master degree in project management. So this program it's very interesting to me because I would like to leverage my skills in develop a leadership position.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, especially in the middle of the night, and taking some time to talk with us.
Thank you.
Heather, I'm not sure if you're back yet, but if you are,
Sorry.
I was seeing if Heather, but oh, there, maybe she's unmuted. Heather, are you back yet?
I'm back. Hi, you survived the elevator, so. My name is Heather Berger. I'm currently in Reading, Pennsylvania. I work at the County of Berks in their IT department. I am a very late bloomer. I got a bachelor's in public administration with a minor in political science at the age of 47. I got my MPA at 51, and I'm pushing 60 now. So I'm figuring I have a good 20 years ahead of me. My interests lie in organizational management and women in leadership and efficiencies and process improvement. So I don't get to do much of any of that in my current position. So I've worked for a for-profit, nonprofit, and now for government. So I've run the gamut, I believe.
Amazing.
Over the last 40 years.
Wow. You've got quite a lot of experience.
But not enough in any one area to really be effective.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And Vernon, I know you're on mute. Are you able to introduce yourself or say hello? Maybe.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
So yes, so my name is Vernon Brown. I'm currently doing my MSW at Alvernia. And I just
There you are.
I mean I saw the opportunity for this and I just thought it would be good to come on and listen and see what's being discussed. Like I said, I'm doing my MSW, but I'm possibly interested in pursuing my PhD. So I just, like I said, wanted to kind of see what the program is about, because there's a few different options. So I'm just, curious and
Yeah.
glad that this is happening.
Thank you for taking the time. Absolutely. So all of you are in, several different fields here. And like Vernon just said, each of you would have, different options to go from your master's degree after that, lots of directions that you can go. So the first thing we want to talk about really is what is a PhD in leadership and why would you go for a PhD in leadership from here? Why would that be a good option to consider, and what makes our program unique? And one of those things is that it is transdisciplinary. So you've all heard all of these different backgrounds that you'd be coming from. PhD in leadership can really go off from any of those. And I think it really personally, it adds to being in a classroom with students who have all kinds of varying backgrounds, like you were all saying. So I think it just adds to the experience. So Dr. Nicoletti, could you give us go from there? Talk to us about a PhD in leadership at Alvernia.
Absolutely. So I'll give you my perspective, and then I'll let Dr. Stober fill in some of the blanks there that I might miss. So as Allie was saying, I think from my perspective, a PhD in leadership is a very versatile and valuable degree. And the reason for that is we can think about it as interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. I like to call it interconnected in a way because it's a social scientific degree. But leadership and organizational management, behavior, and everything that touches really does infiltrate the facets of so many different areas of life. And so a PhD in leadership will not only give you the understanding of leadership theory, organizational management, and the understanding of where leadership touches organizations, but it will also allow you to study a wide range of things. We can study leadership in politics or public administration. We can study leadership in non-for-profit. We can study leadership in education. We can study leadership in the corporate world. We can study the psychology of leadership. We can study the way that followers interact with leaders. The range of things that you can study and the way that you can personalize this program is what I think makes it so meaningful. The other great thing about our program is when you come away with a PhD from Alvernia in leadership, the skill set that you have will be marketable in many different areas. So if you wanted to go the traditional route and become a scholar and go into academia, you will have that skill set without a doubt. Our program has a really good and strong focus in giving you the methodological skill sets to do your own independent research. And the dissertation experience is a big part of getting those skills. So you will be highly marketable in academia, but at the same time, these skills are malleable. They take you into corporate world, non-for-profit world, education, you name it. There's pathways that you can utilize these skills. The other thing about the research, and because I teach the research track in the leadership PhD, we come at it from more of a practical skill set. So you're going to learn a lot of statistics, and you're going to learn a lot of qualitative research and quantitative research and how to do research design in this area and that area. But what the focus on the way we teach it is in the application of the material. So you will learn how to apply those statistical techniques or qualitative techniques directly to real world empirical research, whether that's from secondary data, like you pull it offline from an organization, or whether you're collecting your own data through surveys or qualitative interviews, or potentially even social science experiments. You can really run the gamut into what you can do with the skill set that we're going to teach you. And then, as you might or may not know, we have our tracks. So you have your corporate leadership track, your community track, and your education track. And so you can specialize by taking elective courses in those three areas that will give you a strong grasp on leadership and many other facets of social science within those different areas. And so our program, by combining what I think is a lot of different areas of social science into one, gives you the flexibility to study what you want to study in the context you want to study it in, and of course, pick up this a deep understanding of what leadership is and how it interacts with so many other different facets. Just to say a little bit about our faculty, I think our faculty are outstanding. All of our faculty are scholars, researchers, published in their field, continuing to work on research. Personally, I'm writing papers independent of their dissertation with several PhD students already. Some of these papers come out of their dissertation, others are just papers that they're interested in sort of a scholarly sense. The faculty is really collaborative. Collegiality is very, very, very high at Alvernia. And I think the last thing I'll say, and I always really like to end on this, is when you come to Alvernia, you're coming into what I like to call a caring community of people who care about your success, and you matter as one of our students. And so from the entrance right now to when I'm talking to you, to when you form your dissertation committee and take your qualifying exams until you graduate, you will have a group of people that will stand behind you and help you through every single step of the way. And so, sometimes taking on a big thing like a PhD with a research dissertation can be scary, but you should know that when you do that, you're also going to have a whole group of people that want to see you succeed and will give you the skills necessary to make that happen. Spence, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, there are some things. By the way, Dr. Nicoletti did an outstanding job of giving you an overview. So I'm not going to repeat what he said. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about the experience, because when I look at this group here, it reminds me of what I'm looking forward to next time we have a cohort. And the cohort model is such that we have students from all different backgrounds. And just in this screen, we have somebody with an MBA, we have somebody with a master's in public planning, I think it is, if I have all the degrees right, and we have someone that works in city government. We have people with very diverse backgrounds. And that is an essential piece for leadership studies, because it's interdisciplinary. And when you come to the cohort sessions, at least when I come to them, I enjoy hearing and learning from the students. So it's not just the professor preaching to you, but it's the professor and the students in a working relationship together to better understand leadership studies. Now, on the one hand, for example, if I think, Linda, you have a master's in project management, or at least that's an area you've studied, if I understand. And that can be very precise and precision type of management. And then when you study leadership, you're going to start to think about the more general aspect of how we lead with others. And it'll be studying that. And also, you could ask the question, well, will I become a better leader or not? Maybe. We're going to study leadership, and in the process, hopefully, you'll become a better leader. The entire experience with your cohort is exciting. We've had students from all areas. We've had attorneys, we've had those in health care. Obviously, we have a lot of academics. We've had people in law enforcement and business, of course, and so on. And I just find it's a very enriching experience for myself and for the students. One last comment about the scholarship. I think that's really an important thing. We just took a group of 4 of our students to the International Leadership Association conference in Chicago, and they did an excellent presentation. In fact, it went so well that I had to remind the persons in the session that it was time to go to the next conference session. I've had a chance to write a book with a general reader on nature-centered leadership with 2 Ph.D. students. One has graduated and the other is currently working on his getting his proposal together. So I think when you get involved with this, it's important to emphasize one thing. Don't just think of it as a goal to get it finished, but plan on enjoying the process. And if you do that, it's going to be a really great experience. Thank you. That's all I have for now, Allie.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of that. I love the process of it is a really good transition into chatting about the dissertation part of it. Both Dr. Nicoletti and Dr. Sober referenced the dissertation in kind of their overview of the program, but a dissertation could be daunting to someone who isn't familiar with what that looks like or what the process is, or why a dissertation is part of getting a PhD. It's not always part of a doctoral program, but it is part of ours. That original research is really integral to this program. Can you talk a little bit about the process of original research and why doing a dissertation supports all of what you've already chatted about?
Do you want to go first on this, Dr. Nicoletti?
It's up to you, Dr. Sober. I can add to what you want to talk about either way.
Okay, we'll take turns going first. So I'm going to talk about the dissertation in the context of where you are when you start. If you come into the program the first semester, you're going to be asked to take a first-time opportunity to develop a paper on leadership on a particular theory or perspective, and you'll have to search the literature on it and learn about how the theory developed, how the idea developed, and ways to actually maybe measure it and study it. So, and then you'll learn about research methods. So the first 2 years, roughly, you'll be studying research methods and leadership theory and organizational theory. And once you get to a certain point, then we make an assessment to see whether you are what we call qualified to be a candidate. So the first 2 years, roughly, you're a student. And then when you get qualified, then you're a candidate. And that's a very important step, because once you achieve that step as a candidate, then we understand that you're going to be doing a lot of your work as a self-directed student. The first 2 years you were in a cohort. But once you become a candidate and you start to do your dissertation research, you become much more of an independent learner with your dissertation chair. So once you become a candidate, you select the dissertation chair, and then you and the chair select a committee, and then you develop a proposal for research, and then you start working on your research over a period of semesters, and then you take a time to defend the research. And then, of course, Once you sign off, then it gets the first publication of it, once it's approved, is as a digital copy in ProQuest, which is an international database of all dissertations that were successfully defended. So that's we can go into more detail, but maybe you'll have some questions at the end. So what do you think, Nick? Do you have I'm sorry, Dr. Nicoletti.
Yeah, no, I think the good overview. I'll just kind of talk a little bit about the abstract process here. That's not so maybe not so specific, but when you think about it, the PhD thesis, the dissertation, that is your stamp on the world, right? That is your first time that you're going to be looking at a novel research question, a deficiency in the literature that nobody else has studied. You are going to become an expert on your topic. You will be one of a handful of people in the world that will have that high level of expertise on the research question that you study. And you will do so through a piece of research that it becomes your contribution to the literature. And this will be your time to think about what in the literature, what in leadership or broadly studied that you want to contribute to. And the process is such an amazing thing because when you think about it, you find that gap in the literature, you develop some kind of answer, some kind of theoretical framework, you develop some kind of design to test your hypotheses. You go out and collect original data, or you gather data that can be used to test those original hypotheses. You then come to conclusions, right? And you're doing this with a group of scholars the whole time where you have to defend it, right, to them, essentially, where they get to ask you questions and dig deeper into the research, and you're making that sort of stamp on leadership studies. And I think that's the best part about, for me at least, was the best part about getting a PhD was once you become ABD or candidate status, right, all but dissertation, the last step is to make that contribution. And that really is what sets apart a research doctorate, a doctorate of philosophy from other degrees out there. And I also think, just to wrap up this answer, that's also the most important thing when you're done is all that stuff that you learned going into that dissertation. You're going to hone those skills, become even a better expert at the methods that you choose. And when you're finished, right, that's your thing. Your dissertation gets published on ProQuest, and you can probably get a couple publications in peer-reviewed journals out of it. And your committee is there the whole time helping you. So you're not alone. You're not just, thrown out there and have to fend for yourself. Your committee that you develop and through relationships that you'll build with professors, those will be the people that will guide you through all of this process and be helping you every step of the way. And as a person, as the director, but also as just somebody who's been working in this program for several years, I love being on the committees. It's my favorite part because that's where I see the students grow into scholars and really, make their contribution.
Thank you so much. I hope that in hearing both of these professors talk about it, you can hear the passion in how both of them and how much they enjoy this, and that, like Dr. Nicoletti mentioned, like that is reflected in all of our faculty. So I think that touching on the fact that that's unique to our school, that you don't just enter this program and we just say good luck and complete the studies and then there you go on your dissertation. Doing a dissertation can seem like it's going to be an isolated thing because you're doing research specifically on your field or a question that you've come up with, but it's not an isolated thing at our school. It's very much a community endeavor as well. Everyone's around you and surrounding you in that. So not just at school, but in your life. None of us go into a doctoral program, at least at our school, in a vacuum. So, it would be cool to go to a doctoral program and do all of this exciting work and this research, and it's the only thing you have going on, but that's not typically our reality. We've got full-time jobs, maybe we've got kids, family that we have to take care of, we're on boards, or we volunteer, or we're doing all of these things in our lives already. And we're being asked to add classes, coursework, and then eventually dissertation work on top of that. And all of it is exciting in and of itself, but there's this integration piece that's important. And I don't think a lot of schools necessarily comment on that in the beginning, but we are very conscious of it. Our professors are extremely conscious of we are whole people outside of school, and what we bring, into the classroom includes all of that. So I can speak to that from my personal experience as a student. My life is very much integral to when I show up to a class with Dr. Stober. I haven't taken a class with Dr. Nicoletti yet, but I worked with him personally. It's personal. This research is personal and your life is personal. So can you both, if you have anything to add to that on, integrating this work into a full life and maybe some experiences you've seen that students have been able to do this successfully.
Sure. I'll start, and then Spence, you can jump in. So I think a couple things to think about when you're looking into our program and other programs. So our program is built around a modular structure where the classes are every other week and they're in the evenings. And the modular structure allows you to take multiple classes in a semester, but fewer classes at any given time because each mod is about 7 weeks long. So it's well paced. It also allows those students who want to be more ambitious to accelerate the program, but also let students that want to take the more traditional or slower path take that path as well. And with the nights class, the evening classes, and the every other week, and also the ability to accommodate students who may need to zoom into sessions that are live synchronous sessions. We do it in a way where we will accommodate your life because we know that you're going to have a full-time job while you're trying to pursue the PhD, and the program is literally built to accommodate those people who are in that position. I also think the instructors are really understanding of the situation. And while the program maintains a very high level of rigor, and I think that's really important because any program that you enter, you don't want it to have a low rigor. You want it to be challenging. You want it to be difficult. You want it to actually give you the skills that you need to succeed on the job market, wherever that may be. But at the same time, we're flexible with the modular hybrid structure. And then, when you're eventually are ABD, a lot of our committees work virtually as well. So we have a lot of Zoom meetings, things like that. If you prefer in person, we can accommodate that. If you prefer more of a Zoom structure, we accommodate that as well. Dr. Stover, anything you want to add there?
Yes, I do. I just want to add a few things about the culture of it all. It's been my experience that students want to be in the classroom because it's a dynamic experience. But as Dr. Nicoletti mentioned, people have boards they're on. Sometimes they have to travel for professional meetings, and we figure out a way to let them zoom in and listen and participate that way. In terms of some of the experiences that I've had with students, well, I've been at this a long time, so I could do dozens of examples, but I want to emphasize that when I work with students, it seems that we stay in touch long after they graduate because we develop professional relationships with the students. And I found, for example, I oftentimes get asked to write a letter of support for faculty for a student that's going up for tenure at their university. And I have lots of former students that are now teaching at other institutions. And some of them have just earned tenure, or some are even going up for a full professor at these points. So now, of course, there are other professions as well. It's just that I use that as my example. So I guess that's about all for now, Allie, to keep it going and making sure we have enough time for them. I'll forego any further discussion there.
Absolutely. And we're pretty much going to go into logistics from here. So I want to pause and see if any of you have any questions or want us to expand or talk a little bit more about anything that we've talked about so far, or questions about anything that we've touched on so far. And also, hello, Rosa, for coming in. We did introductions in the beginning, so welcome. I saw you come in there. So grateful for you to be here.
Okay. So my
Go ahead,
question
George.
is, okay, is there a time that you must start within the year, the academic year? I know some say you must start in fall. What is it like?
Yes, you unmuted. Do you want me to answer, Spence, or do you want to answer?
Well, we generally like to start the cohort at the beginning of classes in the fall, which is usually near the end of August.
Yeah.
And the reason we do that is because a lot of the courses are designed to be taken in a certain sequence so that you have the necessary prerequisites to cover the material. For example, it makes sense to take quantitative and qualitative and mixed methods before you start thinking about a proposal draft. And it's good to learn your leadership theory along the way so that you can ask questions as to when you learn about a theory in the literature, then you ask the question, well, if I'm going to use this theory, how do I use it as a framework to address certain things I'm working with in my research? So we really have it sequenced out so that it's the most effective for learning. Now, if someone comes in with transfer credits or comes in, and maybe I'm speaking in, correct me, Ali, if I'm wrong, since you know this more than me, but if someone comes in with transfer credits or is in a different position when they come in, then we have to have a one-on-one and figure out where you fit into the sequence.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. If you're coming in and you have not taken any prior doctoral credits, you would start in the fall. And that's what Dr. Sober, and I think Dr. Nicoletti referenced this as well. That's what a cohort looks like. So you would all start at the same time. You would start, in research, or the research colloquium is the first course that you take. It's really the foundation of the program, and everything kind of builds from there. But all starting at the same time in a cohort is a really neat experience in and of itself too. Because you, for the most part, unless people, move slower or accelerate, you move through all of those classes together, with the same group of students. So that's kind of the idea behind everyone starting at the same time, in addition to the sequential nature of the program and the course curriculum. You move through together, and then you end up forming those bonds with your peers, in addition to the bonds that you have with your faculty, which can really help support you when you get into that nitty-gritty of your dissertation, because you're so close with other people who are also in that work with you. And there's nothing like doing it alongside of someone who just really gets where you are in the process and gets what you're going through in your life, incorporating all of this. So the short answer is everybody starts in the fall unless you've had prior doctoral work and you're part of a cohort program. But that's sort of the idea, or the why behind when the program starts.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Any other questions about that? Because that kind of leads into what we're going to talk about, logistics.
I'll just make one comment about the cohort.
Yeah.
And I'm just emphasizing what you were getting at the end of what you just said there, Ali. The cohort is such an enriching experience that I've observed cohorts from day one till they're walking down the stage to graduate, and they develop lifelong friendships, and they support each other in ways that I just can't imagine. In fact, it's so really cool to see. And I know of cohorts that are still hanging around together years later. Yeah.
Yeah. So to continue with the logistics of it, so when the programs start, I did want to talk about modality, and Dr. Nicoletti touched on that with the flexibility of, the courses are offered in person. We accommodate that if you're not able to be present in person. We accommodate that with Zoom. You work that out with your professor, individually as it comes up, as it emerges. We started talking about timeline a little bit. So like Dr. Nicoletti was saying, with the 7-week modules of the courses, it is laid out sequentially for you to take a certain number of courses at a time. But like he said, that timeline can expand or it can shrink depending on how you want to, what pace you want to be at. And you would work with Dr. Nicoletti on that as your faculty advisor. And he would, I feel like you individually work with students on that to make sure that it's kind of in line with the pace they want and what makes sense for them. Is that right, Dr. Nicoletti?
Yep. So we have a particular sequence, path of courses that we recommend, and as your advisor, we'll go through that. And but when you're thinking about track electives, or you're thinking about when you might want to start your research or take your qualifiers, these are all things that we would discuss as you go through the path. But there are certain classes that you will absolutely take in a sequence. So for example, you'll take 701 first. It'll have two components. It'll have the sort of leadership theory colloquium portion. It'll have the research design portion. Then you'll take your quantitative, intro to quantitative, intro to qualitative, and you'll move through this sort of pathway. But then you'll have more choice the deeper you get into the courses.
Yep, absolutely. So, and with that, things can shift. So you may start out, in an accelerated pace, and life may happen. You may need to slow down, or vice versa. You may need to take some time off. I took about a year and a half off to have one of my kids. And, and then I'm starting back up this semester. The professors really just want to see you finish. So they will help support you and, make sure that the way that you're moving through the program makes sense for you, so that, you can walk across that stage. That's our ultimate goal. We want to see you finish. We want to see you accomplish this, if you're choosing to show up here with us. So there are, I don't want to get too deep into it, but this question comes up a lot, and I can speak with you individually on this, and I can connect you with financial aid. But financing the program is a question that we get asked a lot. You've got lots of options. We have lots of partnership programs with local companies and regional companies that we can offer tuition discounts. We have a graduate assistant positions. We've got all kinds of ways to kind of remove the barrier of financial burden. So just chat with me about that initially, and I can connect you with the right people so that you can ask more specific questions about that, and just know that that is a goal of ours too, to help, like we said, remove that financial barrier, so we can help support you. The next, sorry, Spence, did you want to say something?
No, I just turned my sound off for a moment. The thing about Zoom is you need to turn it off when you have to cough.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all of those logistics, really the next step from here could be a number of things. You could schedule a one-on-one Zoom meeting with me, and I can go, answer your personal questions. We can go a little bit deeper into some of this content that we've already discussed. You could request to meet with Dr. Nicoletti prior. So in the admissions process, once you complete your application and we have all of your materials together, I do an initial review. And then it goes to our PhD committee, and they will review it. And if they want to move forward, there will be a formal interview on the other side of that. But we do want to make sure that this is a good fit for you. So we will meet with you and chat with you on the front end of that, to make sure you have all of your questions answered, to make sure that what we're offering is actually going to support your goals. Because as much as, we want to make sure that you're a good fit for the program, and that we are a good fit for you and what you want to do in your life. So the admissions process from there is pretty straightforward. We have a rolling admissions. So that means we don't have an application deadline. So that means you can apply anywhere between now and the start of the fall semester. Please don't apply the day before classes start. Give yourself some time, but a rolling admissions process allows us to, if you applied tomorrow and we get everything in and we move you through the process, that means we can give you an answer on acceptance as soon as you move through the process. So that's one of the benefits of having a rolling admissions no deadline, is that once you move through all the steps, you know if you're in or not, and you know that you can commit to a cohort seat, and you can begin to plan, a year in advance. So no deadlines, but if you need me to help make a deadline structure, because some people like deadlines, I've absolutely done that for people. We've made a timeline for getting all the materials in. In this, I'll send you a link where you can see all of the materials that you will need to complete your application. And if you have questions on those individual items specifically, that's when you can reach out to me as well. So are there any other things that you wanted to say, Dr. Nicoletti or Dr. Stober, before we see what questions we have?
No, I think I'm ready for any questions you have, and I can help out.
Yeah, what questions can we answer for you here tonight that maybe we didn't touch on yet?
I have a question. And I apologize if it's weird, but I just wanted to know, so do you have, so I'm interested in going the more therapy route, or I mean, that's what I'm feeling right now. Um, so hmm, how can I ask the question? Um, I'm trying to say, is there because you guys said that it's interdisciplinary. People come from all different backgrounds and disciplines, but this can still kind of lends itself to um, different things. So I'm just curious if you've seen someone who is interested in more therapy or psychology pursue this and like what that can lead to or that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Shall I jump in on that one? Or do you want to do it, Allie?
I just want to answer initially. So you're in the MSW program. So the license
Yeah.
that you're kind of working towards is the LCSW. Is that your
Yes.
like goal from here?
Yeah.
So this would be kind of, you could be concurrently, once you graduate from the MSW program and you have those specific number of hours that you have to work under observation before you sit for your license. You could start the PhD program within that time and kind of get your license on the side of it. So I have seen students from our clinical counseling program and even, a year or two later after an MSW program, they already have their license or they're working towards it, start this program because their goals may include, having a private practice once they have license so that they can, their PhD and their leadership research can support what kind of therapy that they want to do. Or maybe they want to start a nonprofit after,
Mhm.
Becoming licensed, and this is going to support, why it is they're starting that nonprofit and in that direction that they want to go. So that's just from my experience, what I've seen from the admission side of things where people are coming from. I also am the admissions advisor for our MSW program on the front end of that now. So that's why I know a little bit of that as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, Allie answered your question very well. So I'm going to answer it or address the question in a broader sense. Generally speaking, there isn't a certification in leadership that requires specific courses unless it's for like a superintendent's letter
Mhm.
or a master's or a principal's cert. So what I recommend to anyone that comes to me and asks this question, which you asked, Vernon, is that you should really do, as Ali suggests, to check to see what the certification requirements are for your degree if you want to be certified in some area. So that the PhD is the research part. Now, I'll give you a specific example. For example, sometimes we get persons that have a doctorate of physical therapy or a doctor of occupational therapy, and that is a practice doctorate that doesn't do the dissertation. Yet some universities want to have a mix of the practice doctorates and the research doctorates. So sometimes we see people come back that already have a doctorate in some practice doctorate and they want to pick up the PhD so they have the research piece. And that's why we emphasize research so much in our PhD, because you are becoming a researcher, but you're also studying leadership as your base of study. So you have to keep that in mind. If you want to move into higher ed with your degree, the PhD in leadership is more than likely going to qualify you to be in an area of a leadership department, obviously, or in some areas of business and so on, where they used leadership as one of the avenues of the programming. Dr. Nicoletta, do you have anything you want to add to that? Did I cover that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have all pretty much covered it. I mean, one thing to really think deeply about, and this is kind of a slightly different answer, but one thing you really want to think deeply about is what your end goal is. So for example, just to be completely transparent, if your end goal was to work in a academic department of psychology, then you probably should have a PhD in psychology because that's going to maximize your ability to do that. If your goal instead is to be a licensed counselor as you're working toward becoming, but also study some aspect of leadership in counseling in organizations, non-for-profits that provide counseling. I mean, if your research interest lies somewhere else, this might be a great opportunity for you. But what you really want to think about is, what is the connection between the degree and what you want as your outcome? Because especially academia is very specific in many times in their hiring. And so like even having, like, if you said, I want to be a political scientist, but can I do that with a leadership degree? You could, but you might not be the first choice on the job market, right? If for political science positions. That's kind of what I'm saying there.
I got you.
Yeah, you
that's
put that well. Sorry.
oh, that's excellent advice there. In fact, I would also advise you go to websites and look at people's resumes in the area that you want to be part of, and see what is a common path academically for persons to do whatever career they're doing. So
Yes, I do get asked that question a lot. Does this program lead into an opportunity to be, a professor, to teach at, in higher education? And the answer is yes. And both of the professors were getting at that this is a terminal or the highest degree that you could get in leadership. So that is the area of study that you would expect to potentially go into when you're going to be teaching. What Dr. Nicoletti was referencing is if you want to teach in the field of psychology, or if you want to teach in the field of social work, you would get the highest degree that's possible in that particular field in order to teach in that field. And then maybe you want to do a PhD in leadership as well to do the research piece of it. So
Right.
I know that a doctorate of social work exists, obviously a doctorate of psychology exists. So exactly what they're saying, look at what goal you have down the line, and what studies are going to get you there.
And one last comment about that. Believe it or not, we get a lot of students that are really just doing it for personal enrichment. I know that sounds crazy, but I've actually advised for dissertations many that were actually in their second career or were very near retirement, and this was an exciting new adventure for them. So keep that in mind too. Although we have a very young audience here, so I'm not going to say this is going to be the case here, but personal enrichment is another reason to do it.
Well, thank you all. Yes.
Absolutely. Any other questions that we have that we can answer tonight? Otherwise, you can absolutely still reach out to us. Go ahead, Olinda.
Hello. Well, I think the answer that I have, sorry, the question that I have, it's almost answered in the last conversation. I was thinking about how can I explain? What kind of research the majority of candidates for this PhD are yet in? And would like to know also the percentage of admissions, because I want to know or measure how difficult it is to apply for this for this program. Thank you.
I can answer the admissions question pretty easily. So the admit rate is pretty high because if someone is taking the time to apply for a PhD program, they most likely have the requirements and what we're looking for. It's mostly on is this a good fit? So when you go through the admissions process and you look at what the requirements are, if someone is able to hit all of those requirements and send their application in, it's really more of a matter of is this program the right fit for what you want to do. So it does have a pretty high admit rate because from moving the whole way through the admissions process, you won't necessarily move beyond just chatting with me if it's not the right program for you. If I've moved you forward to having an interview with Dr. Nicoletti and Dr. Stober, it's because you've hit all of those requirements that we're looking for in the program. It's a little vague, but it's more of a less gatekeepy into the program and more of a have you hit all of the requirements that we're looking for in order for you to be successful in the program? And is the program a good fit for you? And then if you both want to chat about maybe the research question.
Should I? Okay,
Yeah, jump in.
I'll give one or two examples and then offer a suggestion. For example, one of my students in the corporate track looked at the Fortune 500, all of the Fortune 500 companies, and looked at the letters to the shareholders from the CEO and did a content analysis of it, and then came up with some conclusions as the type of leadership style it projected. Another student just recently studied all of the Bosnian American communities in the Northeast region and looked at their advisory boards for certain leadership styles. So the examples are numerous, and what you could do is, if you have access to a library database at any school where you're at currently, and you look at ProQuest and you look for dissertations, if you type in Alvernia, you usually get a lot of the dissertations, so you can actually look at sample dissertations, and that's when you can start getting an idea of the kind of research that doctoral students do.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I think it's wide open, really. It really depends on what you're interested in. I have been on dissertation committees where students are looking into aspects of leadership in criminal justice, aspect of leadership in economics, aspects of leadership in large corporations, in non-for-profits. I mean, and that's the interesting thing about this program is, because leadership touches so many areas, if you're interested in a topic, there's most likely a research question that you can study in that particular area dealing with leadership. So in that regard, it's actually really versatile, which also connects a little bit to what Vernon was asking about earlier, because while the PhD that you will graduate with will be in leadership, there is nothing to say that you won't also be an expert in a particular area of social science that correlates along with leadership, right? And so, for example, one of my students is studying leadership styles in juvenile justice administrators and the way that they handled juvenile justice cases. And so not only did he look at leadership styles there, and also they created their own leadership instrument for these particular students, but then they also had to become extremely knowledgeable, and they already were, because they're police officer, administrator in juvenile justice, that sequence and how people go through the process. And so, this particular person, I think, would have no problem getting a job in a criminal justice department or a leadership department, right? It's that kind of versatility in the research that comes with that as well. So it's wide open, I guess, is the answer. Like, it really is. It is wide open.
Yeah, and based on what Dr. Nicoletti said, there's some additional points that came to my mind while we were talking about this. And at some universities, when you apply, you may apply to be in a research program which is run by the professor. And then you basically are doing a lot of research and part of a team. And that's oftentimes the case in the sciences, where here you are the driving force, and then we as the professors have to come up to speed on it and learn about it, and also advise the methodological pieces to it. So it's a different model, but the way we do it is more common in leadership studies
and in the social sciences generally. That is the approach. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wide open. My dissertation, I'm not quite there yet, but it's loosely in the area of leadership and motherhood, and more specifically, mothers of kids who are born deaf and the process that they go through in deciding whether they're going to learn sign language or not. I'm not quite sure where the question's going to go, or where the research is going to lead me from here. But that touches on too that you don't have to be completely set and knowing exactly what you want your dissertation to be. In fact, I think it's a little bit better to be broad when you come in, and that it's going to evolve and grow and get more specific. And I feel like I've picked up things from each class that I've been in, and it's sort of like, shaped it more and more with every single class. And I'm getting closer and closer to what it is that I'm wanting to ask a question on. So absolutely, George. Well, thank you so much for being here. So just that little bit at the end, it's very broad. And it's, you know, the question that you ask in your dissertation, the sky's the limit. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you all so much for being here. If you do have any additional questions, please reach out. We can schedule with you. We'd love to chat with you more. And I'd love to see your application come through, and let me know when you apply. I will waive your fee and I will help you every step of the way in that process as well. So thank you so much for your time. I'll send a replay. And we look forward to continuing to support you in this process, and we hope you join us. So have a good rest of your night and safe travels this week if you're seeing family.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Feel
Bye.
free to reach out personally if you have any questions. Appreciate meeting
Thank
y'all.
you.